Hello, testing, 1, 2, testing.
You sent a text to Marlene. I don't understand what you wrote.
Hello,
Hello.
hi Felice.
Hi, Faggy.
Mazel tov.
I think this now I have to turn it
We have
around.
something wrong with the sound.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Hi, Peggy.
Hi, Bernie.
Hi,
Hi, Ellen. Ellen, I called you and it went to fax machine.
oh, something's not right with my answering machine. Okay, I'll check that.
No, because I wanted to make sure you're okay. I didn't see you in Chula and Chavez.
I just was very tired, so I decided to give myself a break.
Okay. Okay, as long as you're okay.
Yeah, okay, I'll be back.
I called to check up.
Oh, thanks.
Who's joining now? Harold. Hi, Harold, Magda.
Hello.
Hi.
Mazel tov again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Everybody's okay?
Yeah, they went home, came home today. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
good. Oh, good. Good.
Mother and baby are home? That's great.
Mother
Yeah.
and baby are
Yeah.
home, yeah.
Great.
But nobody can go over there because they're still in quarantine.
Not till Wednesday.
Yeah.
I
That's
know.
tough.
Yeah,
They got rid of her from the hospital like right away, like she's a pariah kind of.
Ay.
We're not finished with this COVID.
I know, she came home with 2 masks. Yeah. Yeah. Very bad.
But the baby's okay.
The baby's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Hi, Magda.
Hi, Mario. ¿Cómo estás?
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Thank you so much. Yes, we're very excited.
How's the baby?
The baby's good. The mother is good.
The baby's
Everybody's home.
gorgeous.
And they're home.
Harold, how are the Dodgers?
You want to know?
You're looking, I can tell. What's the score?
No, I'm not looking. They're winning 4-2
They are winning?
in the 8th inning.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's
But don't
good.
tell me anymore. I paused it. I'm taping it.
Hello. I'm teaching a shiur right now, so we'll have to speak later. No, the shiur is at least an hour, so you can call 9:15. That's fine. Thank you.
Yes, it was-
Okay. I think we left off Perek Yud Zayin, Pasuk Chaf Aleph. Is that what everybody has?
Chapter 16.
No, we're in chapter 17. Chapter 17.
Oh,
Perek Yud Zayin. Let's start Pasuk Chaf. Let's start Pasuk Chaf. What we've done so far is Goliath, the champion of the Plishtim, has challenged the Jewish people to send a warrior who will fight with him. Shaul and the rest of the army is frightened. And Yishai sends David HaMelech, because David HaMelech's brothers is in Shaul's army. So, Vayashkem David Baboker, Vayitosh et Hatzon al Shomer. He, rather than watch the sheep himself, he gave the sheep over to another watchman. Vayisa vayelech, kasher tzivao Yishai. Yishai had commanded him to go to his brothers. Vayavo ha'ma'agala. Magala means from the word ma'agal, circle, that they were encircled, or the encirclement. This is how the Jewish people were lined up. Normally it was in a circle. That's a good way strategically to camp, that your enemies will not come from a certain side. Other people say that the circle is to keep other soldiers in, so that they won't run away. And they were shouting sort of battle cries. Rashi says, "Svivota machaneh osim magal." The extremists, the limits of the machaneh make a circle. Vayotzei chutz lefanim lachor mitchayev lefanim shema yerutz alav bnei marachot oivim. If the enemies run at them, they'll be able to prevent them from attacking the group. Lachor mevakesh lanus, and also in a circular encampment, other soldiers can't run away if people became afraid. Vataroch pasuk chafalev vataroch Yisrael uplishtim maracha likrat maracha. And each encampment, the Plishtim and the Israelim were against each other. Goliath had been announcing for 40 days, every day, that someone should come out to fight him. And this is the end of the 40 days. And it looks like now maybe the battle, a regular battle is beginning, one camp against another camp. Pasuk Chav Beis. Vayitosh David et hakelim me'alav, al yad shomer kelim. David, whatever he was carrying, whatever baggage he had, he leaves it with the watchman of the baggage. Vayaratz hamarach, and he runs to the battle encampment. Vayavo vayishal echav l'shlom, and he asks about his brothers. Now you notice David, he's running to the fight. This is like, it reminds me of 9/11, where the first responders are running to the building. Everybody else is running away the building, and he's running to the building. And they were running to the building. Well, David HaMelech is doing the same thing. It shows the gvura of David HaMelech. The Mefarshim say that he's not running away, he's running to a place of danger. Chav Gimel. V'hu medaber imam. He's speaking with his brothers, with the other Jewish people. He's giving news about his father, what his father told him. He gave him, the Rashbam says he was giving chidushi Torah to the brothers. And then the same Goliath, Isha Beinayim, Oleg Goliath Aplishti Shmo, Migat, again, it sort of goes through his biography because it wants to sort of remind us who Goliath is, because David is going to, now attack him. It reminds us that Goliath is from the city of Gat. And again, he repeats the curses, that nobody in Israel can stand up against him. And David now hears this with his own ears. Again, there's a Kriyuk Ksiv here. It says Mima Arot, it's written, we read it in Marachot. Rashi brings Chazal in Masechta Sota Mem Beis. Mea bnei Adam he'aru ba'arpu imo. 100 men had relations with Orpah ma'achrei Ruth after Orpah left Ruth v'Noami. That's why the word he'era is a reference to like penetration. So Chazal are giving us again a reminder that Goliath doesn't have the greatest yichus. He doesn't know who his father is. And remember, Goliath Goliath's been very circumspect. He's also a little bit fearful. He knows that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has helped the Jewish people before. That's why he hasn't gone and attacked them yet. By the way, Chazal also say in Rus Rabbah, Amra Brachia Barab Yitzchak B'schar Arboim Psios Shaholcha Orpaim Chamoisa Nitu Libana Men Yom. Goliath was successful for 40 days to stand in front of Klal Yisrael, curse them and threaten them, and nothing happened to him. Chazal see the fact that Orpah walked with Nomi and Ruz for 40 steps before turning back. That gave Goliath the schar for the 40 days that he stood against Klal Yisrael. That's why it says Vayetzev Arboim Yom. It also says in Rus that Orpah cried. Chazal say B'schar Arba Demois Shoyrida Orpah al Chamoisa Zachsa v'Andu Mena Dalet Giboyim Alalu. That Orpah had the schus to have 4 warriors come out of him. Saf, Umadon, Goliath, V'Yishbi. For the schar of the 4 tears that she shed because she was sad that she was leaving Naomi. And Chazal also say it's that night that 100 men had relations with her she gave birth to Goliath because of that. It's from the same pasuk that we just read, Mimaros, and we read it in Marmochos. Chav Dalet.
Ernie,
Yes.
can I interrupt just a second because I read something very interesting in the Me'am Loes. If
Please.
you look at the Goliath is described as Ishe Habeinayim, the man who stood between the encampments, the 2 armies, right?
Correct.
So what? So he's called Beinayim. So he says that if you look at Tehillim, Perek Tes, the first pasuk starts at Lamedatzeach al Mus Labain. All right, what is Mus Labain? Labain is this is the only time the word Labain shows up anywhere in Tanakh. Labain is reference to the man standing in the middle. What David HaMelech is giving thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that Goliath was killed. He was able to kill Goliath.
Interesting. Okay, so there's a reference to the Beinayim in that Tehillim.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Chav Dalet. V'chol Yisrael birotam et ha'ish vayanusu mipanav ve'eru me'od. The rest of the Jews are frightened and are running away from him. Vayomer ish Yisrael hari'item ish ha'oleh. The Jews are speaking among themselves. Do you see this mighty giant? Ki lecharefet Yisrael oleh is coming to curse us. Vayah ish asher yakenu. Word is out, I guess, from Shaul HaMelech that Yasrenu HaMelech, Osher Gadol, the King Shaul is going to heap whoever fights Goliath a lot of wealth. Ves bito yitain lo, and his daughter will be given. Ves beis aviv yaseh chofshi b'Yisrael, and his family house will be free of having to serve the king. Now, we had this chazal before by Yiftach. Masechta Tainis Daled Amid Aleph. Amr Shmuel bar Nachmani Amr Rav Yonason. Shloisha shalu shaloi kahoigim. 3 people asked, it wasn't appropriate. Lishnaim eshivu mahoigim, to 2 of the people who asked, it came back to them good. Le'echad eshivu shaloi kahoigim. Ve'eluhin Eliezer, Eved Avram, Shaul ben Kish, v'Yiftach HaGiladi. Eliezer Eved Avram dichsi v'hayana Rasha Omar Elea tinachadeh. Remember, Eliezer said also, you know what? Whichever person comes and offers my camels to drink, that's going to be the right girl for Yitzchak. Well, it could have been somebody with 2 heads, or with bad midos. Kadosh Baruch Hu answered with Rivka. Yachal afilu chigeres afilu suma. She could have been blind. She could have been blind. She could have been lame. However, Heshivu kahoikin, he was answered appropriate. Nizdana lo Rivka. Shaul ben Kish, same thing, because he had also stated v'haya ish, our pasuk asher yakenu yasrano amelech v'esbito yiten lo yachol afilu eved yachol afilu mamzer. Could have been an eved Knani. Could be a mamzer who ends up marrying his daughter. Heshivu kahoikin is damin lo David. No, David HaMelech was a good answer. Yiftach HaGiladi. If we remember that his daughter came out first, and then we have a whole machlokes. He did offer the daughter, he didn't offer the daughter. So that's obviously Shaul HaMelech, the schusim of Shaul HaMelech protected him in terms of who ended up marrying his daughter Michal. David again asks, what is Shaul going to do to the person who strikes him and remove this embarrassment from Klal Yisrael? Who is this plishti, this uncircumcised plishti, who's cursing the living God? David is incensed by all of this. And David HaMelech, the Malbim learns, says you don't need wealth and getting to marry a daughter. The Jew's going to have the privilege of causing revenge against the person who is cursing the Elokim Chaim, the live Hashem. Hu yoter yakar mikol rechush mikol matan. V'zatz ma'asachar yoter gadol mishi yatzliach lasot pula musher kazu. The Malbim says that the pasuk is emphasizing this because David HaMelech is trying to make a point that we don't need the wealth, we don't need the gifts, just whoever is going to be menakem in Goliath, that's already a reward. He also understood, says the Akedas Yitzchak, that there was no danger in fighting Goliath because since he's being macharef, he's cursing Hashem, there's no sakana. You don't even need a big schar because it's not going to be a big deal to kill him. Some say that he really didn't know what rewards was being given. He wanted to know Pashut Pshat, what is going to be offered to the person who kills him. Chavzai, Vayomer lo ha'am, kadavar zeh lemor. So again, they repeated to David, Ko yaseh la'ish asher yakel. Now, Vayishma Eliyav achiv gadol. Remember, Yishai is sending David to check on his brothers. And his elder brother, Eliav, is part of the army. So Vayishma Eliav achika gadol b'dabro l'nashim. He hears David HaMelech in his words. Vayichar af Eliav b'David. Eliav gets angry. So remember, we learned this already. Eliav was already ruled out to be the king. Remember when Shmuel went to the house of Yishai and he saw Eliav, he saw Baruch HaKodesh that Eliav doesn't have the midah, the proper midah. You can't get angry as a king. So we see it very clearly. It says he gets angry. Vayomer, lama zayaradata. What are you doing here? Va'almina tashta. What did you leave the sheep with? I know that you are amazing. You're like a sinner. And your evil heart. You like war. You came down here because you want to get part of this war. And then, remember, there was a machlokes whether or not the brothers knew that whether they were present when he was nimshach b'shem hamishcha. Maybe if they according to the pshat that they were there, why would they be so surprised about what he's doing here? So Rav Schwab says, Shimon Schwab says, he certainly knew about Mashiachas David. There was a secret that they shouldn't reveal it. And he was concerned now that since you were anointed to be king, why are you putting yourself in this danger? You could be killed. You're supposed to be the king. And he was also telling him that Eliav thought that David HaMelech had bad midos. Now is not your time to be the king. Shaul is still the king. However, in that manner, we know Eliav was mistaken. We know already David HaMelech had Ruach HaKodesh inside of him. We know the Ruach had left Shaul and went into David. Now, I wanted to read something in the Musar Nevi'im regarding this. Eliav said, the Musar Nevi'im says that David HaMelech was not the right person to go out in war because he saw Hefkerus in David HaMelech. There are people who should be moister their nefesh, but that's somebody who's very careful about other people's lives. Somebody who's hefker. He doesn't really care about his own life. And he thought that David HaMelech was putting himself in danger for no reason. And that's why he got angry with him. Says the Musar of Hanavim, Efshar leba'er mipnei ma ratza Yitzchak levarech le'ezik naso es Esav. V'yad Rivka haisa be'emtza shivarchas Yaakov. Big question we always have when we read Parshas Toldos. What went on there? Why did Yitzchak want to give Esav the brachas? And Rivka had to intervene and divert them to Yaakov. Nira Loimar, this is what was brought by the Yalkut Ruveni. Esav kibud ava'im. Esav had tremendous kibud av. V'halach l'makom sakonos b'shvil avi. He used to go to dangerous places to hunt animals for his father. Umimenu lamad Yosef k'she'amar lo Yaakov l'cha v'eshlachacha aleihem. Eventually, Yaakov sends Yosef to his brothers in Dotan, where eventually he's sold into slavery. Yosef also knew who that the brothers hated Yosef. Ela Amar Yosef Esav halach tamid lamakom sakona latzutzai lavi lavi. He remembered that his uncle Esav would also put himself into danger because of kibud av, to bring animals for his father. Now, my father Avishal cheni lirot et shlom achiv lirot shlom atzon v'lo ilech. I shouldn't go. And because Yitzchak saw Esav being moiser nefesh, because of mitzvahs kibud avaim, Yitzchak thought that he was roy to get the brachas. The one who's going to get the brachas from Yitzchak is going to have the oil Torah on it, and that has to be with Mesiras Nefesh. He's going to have to be 400 years in Golus and Avdus. So Yitzchak saw in Esav that he has Midas Mesiras Nefesh. So he's roy to makabel this oil. Aval Rivka Hevina Shema Sheyesh Be'esav Midas Mesiras Nefesh Zui Machmas Hayafkeru Shabo. Esav didn't give any thought. He was a Ish Hefker. He was Choshid al Shlichas Domim, say Chazal. He was a murderer. So he didn't care about the lives of other people. They weren't considered anything. Just like in his own life, therefore, he put himself in danger because he didn't value his own life. So Rivka saw Yaakov as a Yoshev Oalim. That's where he did Mesiras Nefesh. He's not benefiting from his daily life. He's Memis Etz Atzmo Ba'oil Shel Torah. That's the Midah Yoser Gedolah Shel Mesiras Nefesh. And therefore he should get the brachas and to get the Ola Torah. That's why Rivka did all of these things, so Yaakov should get the brachas. So that's an interesting aside. Okay. Posuk Chavtes. Vayomer David Me'asi Siyata. Hello, Doverhu. I didn't do it. He responded, I haven't done anything. I've only spoken right up until now. I haven't taken any action. Posuk Lamed. Vayisov ve'etzlo emul acher. Vayomer kadavar hazeh. He asked somebody else about what's going on with Goliath. Vayishivu am davar kadavar, and they told him the same thing. He's going to be given wealth, and he's going to be given the daughter of Shaul. Vayishmu adrim asher diber David vayigilu fnei Shaul vayikacheu. All of a sudden, the words of David that somebody should go and fight this Goliath, Shaul HaMelech hears about it. He already has heard about the praises of David from Doeg. And we know that when David HaMelech came to play music for Shaul, it removed the Ruach Ra that Shaul was having. Based on that, he thought, okay, maybe David HaMelech can win out against this Goliath. Otherwise, he would never put David in that kind of danger. He wasn't irresponsible. So Vayomer David el Shaul, al yipol lev adam alav. Nobody's heart should drop on hearing what Goliath is saying. Avdechayelech, I am your servant. I'm going to go. V'nilcham im ha-plishti hazeh, and I will go fight this plishti. Vayomer Shaul David lo tuchal alechet el ha-plishti. You're not going to be able to fight this plishti. Kinarata, you're a young man. V'hu ish milchama minarav. He's a warrior from the first, from when he was very young. David was only 30 years old at this time. Says David, Pasuk Lamed Daled, Vayomer David el Shaul, Ro'eh haya avdecha la'aviv batzon. I'm a shepherd. Uboha ari vetadov v'nasasem ha'eder. When I was watching the sheep, a lion and a bear came and captured one of the sheep. V'yatzati achrav, and I chased after the lion and the bear. V'kitiv, v'tzaltiv mipiv, and I saved. David Melech is trying to show that he is a warrior too. Vayakam alayv v'chazakni b'zekano v'kisev amiti. I grabbed the beard of the lion and I struck it and I killed it. Gamatari gamadovi kavdacha. I killed the bear and the lion. And therefore, vaya plishti arel hazeh kechad mehem. The plishti will be exactly like what happened to the lion and the bear. Ki cheref marchot Elohim chayim. What is he doing? He's cursing the live Hashem.
I have a question.
Yes.
David is explaining his prowess by killing the lion and the bear. But when he approaches Goliath, he uses the slingshots. So it's like a little bit, he's not like, he doesn't seem to be using that kind of power that he had with the bear and the lion when he approaches Goliath.
Well, we're going to see. Goliath was laden down with a lot of armor, could not move. David HaMelech had we'll see, it was much swifter. And in that setting, an accurate throwing of a slingshot and hitting the right location is what did the trick. And of course, we know he did it with Hashem's help. So, let's understand a little bit more. What is this marshal that he's giving about the Ari and the dove?
Which Gemara is this?
Well, so first of all, in Medrash Shmuel, Tani b'Shem Rav Nosson, Arba Arayos u'Shalosh Dubim Katov b'Sayom. He actually killed 4 lions and 3 bears. That's because it says multiple times Ari, and Ari and a dove and everything like that. So it was much more than just a lion and a bear. So he was telling Shaul, he also knows derech hateva, how to do milchama, because fighting a lion and a bear while he's protecting the tzon of his father is what a shepherd has to do, and you're going to use natural means. And you don't have to be soimech on a nes. But he also wanted to show that he had siyata d'shmaya, that Hashem was helping him. And just like he helped him there, he's going to help him here. And that's how Chazal understand. The Yalkut Shimoni, at the end of Parshas Peshalach, says, Ksov zo zikaron b'sefer v'simbos ne Yoshua. Ze echad me'arbot tzadikim shenitim lo remez. There were 4 tzadikim that were given a hint about what was going to happen to them. Shnaim chashu, shnaim lo chashu. Moshe nitin lo remez v'lo chash. Moshe was given a hint, and he didn't take the hint. Yaakov nitin lo remez v'lo chash. Yaakov was given a hint, he also didn't take the hint. David and Mordechai nitan lehem remez v'chashu. What is this? Moshe minayin, because it says v'simbos ne Yoshua. This is already at the end in the battle of Amalek, right after they left Mitzrayim. Hashem is giving him a signal that, you know what, Yoshua manchilas Yisrael haaretz. You are not going to be able to go into Eretz Yisrael. Yoshua is going to take them in. Later on, it says V'aschanan el Hashem. Moshe didn't realize that he had already been told 40 years before that he's not going to go in. He didn't chop the hint. Yaakov nitin lo remez v'lo chash shenemar v'nenochi imcha u'shmarti b'chol asher telech. Right? When in Parshas Vayetze, Yaakov Avinu is about to set out on his journey. And Hashem tells him, don't be afraid. Uvesof hayayarei, umispachat, shenemar, vayira Yaakov me'od, vayetzer lo. Remember when Esav comes to confront him, he's afraid. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised him that he shouldn't be afraid. So we see Moshe and Yaakov didn't chop the hint. However, David nite lo remes v'chosh. Shenemar gam et hari gam et hadov hikavtecha Omer David. V'chiman asov sheketi chayes ras alalu. What David said to himself? What was going on that I killed these wild animals? Elo Omer shema davar atid le'erat Yisrael v'hein atidin l'natzel el yadi. Something's going to happen militarily against the Jewish people, and I'm going to save them. That's why David Melech stands up now and has confidence that Hashem is going to help him. What's Mordechai? Mordechai Yehudi by the Esther story. Nitin lo remes v'chash shenemar uv'choyom vayom Mordechai mitalech. Omer Mordechai v'chi efshar l'chasida zu shetinose l'rosha arel hazeh. I mean, Mordechai arranged this whole marriage with his wife, Esther. And she's going to marry this Russia? Anyways, he understood, Osid le'eretz Yisrael davar, ve'natin l'Yisrael, she's going to end up saving the Jewish people. So David HaMelech is coming with a simon from Shamayim that he knows he's going to defeat Goliath. Lamed Zayin. Vayomer David Hashem asher etzilani miyad arim yadadov. David says it himself. It's Hashem who's saving me. And Rashi brings this medrash that I said. Yodea nishalo l'chinam nizdam eliyadav elo shatir ani balidei kayotze b'litzros Yisrael. V'zeh chad netzadikim shenit l'maraz v'chashul haskil l'davar David u'Mordechai. It's not for nothing that this Esther is taken in by this Russia. She's eventually going to save Klal Yisrael. So that's how the tzaddikim have bitachon that the remez that they're given, they're going to take, that's going to help them. Okay. So Shaul says, Vayomer Shaul David lech, v'Hashem yeimach. Go, Hashem will be with you. Lamed Ches, Vayalbei Shaul is David Madov. Madov refers to clothing. Now remember, we were told Shaul was the tallest Jew in Israel. From his shoulder up, there was nobody taller than him. Yet, Shaul dresses David in his clothing, and it fits him. The Nasan Koiva Nechoisha Sal Rosh gave him a copper helmet, by Yalbesho, so Shir gave him armor. Rashi says, Nefchu lios kamidas David. These clothing fit him. It's a simon that when he was anointed by Shmuel, he grew. Right? Because by Shaul it says he was taller mikol hamishich movamalav. Given Shaul kain hichnis bo ayin hara. However, Shaul noticed that all of a sudden his clothing is fitting David, and he gave David an ayin hara. And David sensed that. V'hirgish David b'David, and we're going to see very soon that David gets rid of this clothing. He didn't want an ayin hara in his clothing. Pasuk Lamed Tes. Vayachgor David es charbo me'al hamadav. David wore his sword over his clothing. Vayoel alechet kilo nisa. But he didn't want to go into battle that way. He wasn't used to it. Vayomer David el sholo chal alechet be'ela. Kilo nisiti. I can't go with these clothing. I'm not used to them. Vayasirem David me'alav. And we can see that Chazal understood that he also wanted to get rid of it because he sensed that Shaul had put an ayin hara in the clothing. Rashi says, Pashat Pshat, he walked with them, he saw that they were very heavy, so he took them off.
כן?
quiero printear mis medicinas.
דונא בלריצה.
Pasuk Mem. Vayikach maklo biyado. He took his stick.
Creo que
He took his staff. Vayivchar lo chamisha chalukei avanim min hanachal. He took 5 smooth stones from the river. Vayasem otam bikli haro'im asher lo. He had a bag that the shepherds would wear. The stones in the bag. V'yalkut v'kalo biyado. And the kalo is the slingshot. Vayigash la plishti. And armed with that, he came to the plishti. So, first of all, the Metzudas David say he came with a stick because he wanted to fool Goliath, thinking that he's going to fight him with a stick, but really he's going to use the slingshot. Other people said, the Niam Loez says that he came very lightly armed, so people would understand that he's not relying on his natural strength, rather than he's relying on Shemayim. That's when Yaakov faces Esav, he also only takes his makel with him. Because it says, Ki b'makli avartis erden hazeh. He was also showing, bitachon in Hashem.
Is there any significance to the smooth stones?
¿En dónde estaba puesto?
So yes,
guardado?
yes. The Medrash Shmuel says
En
that the
esto,
5 stones represent Echad Lishmo Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
esto.
One it represents the name of Hashem.
Mhm.
Echad Lishmo Shel Aaron HaKohen. Ushloisha Lishloishas Ovis Ha'olam, Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov.
This church.
Now remember, we've been told
Pone Ana solo.
that Goliath killed Chofni Upinchas, the sons of
Pone
Eli.
Ana. No,
Yeah,
no.
Mario, you have to
Mario?
go on mute.
Yes.
Go
You have to
on
go on
mute.
mute.
Go on mute.
Oh,
So,
I'm sorry.
so when someone in your family gets killed, you are called a Goel Adam. You can, if the person, let's say, killed somebody b'shogeg, one of your relatives, so you were allowed to kill him unless that person ran to an Ir Miklat, then you couldn't kill him. So Aaron HaKohen is like the relative of Chofni and Pinchas. He's the great grandfather. So I'm going to pay back Aaron HaKohen. Another answer to Ellen's question is Goliath every day was cursing Klal Yisrael and Hashem against the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. So the 5 stones represent the Chamisha Chumshei Torah that he was also cursing against. Rav Shimon Schwab notes that by a bris milah, we also mention these stones. It's a schus because it's schus mitzvah milah, also that David HaMelech was successful, says Rav Schwab. Mem Aleph, Vayelech HaPlishti holech v'karvel David. The Plishti approaches David. Va'ish nosei atzina lefonov.
Ernie, can I just add a comment that I'm reading here?
Please.
Yeah, one of the 5 stones were representing HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as you said, because Goliath was insulting God by taunting them that with Shaul wouldn't come and fight because he was he knew that if he defeated Shaul, God's hand would not be in it. So he said, "This is the same." So he was killed by that stone that struck him, that represented the stone of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the same way that somebody who is a blasphemer, the death is skila, stoning, with this same kind of stone.
Very good, right? We have the parsha of the person who's makalel and gets stoned in the Torah. Very good. Vayabeta plishti vayret David vayvizeu. Goliath sees David and he humiliates him. Who is this? He's a youth. He's reddish. He's got nice eyes. What are they sending me? So in fact, the Medrash grabs onto that and says, Nisavel David Laver. He wanted to commit homosexuality with David. That's why we're given sort of this description, which describes him as a handsome person. And remember, the Plishtim were very immoral. Vayomer Plishti David HaKelev Anochi. Am I a dog? Ki ata ba elai b'maklot. Did you come with me with a stick? And again, Vayikalel Plishti et David be'Elohav. Now he curses David with his own idol, Dagon, that was the god of the Plishtim. So I'm saying he also cursed with the name of Hashem as well. Pasuk Mem Hey. I'm sorry. Pasuk Mem Dalet. Vayomer Plishti el David, Lecha Elai, come to me. Va'etnaz psarcha la'ofer shamayim ulvamata sadeh. And I'm going to give your flesh to the birds of the heaven and to the beasts of the field. Now, here, normally beasts are not cannibal. They don't eat, the beasts of the field, like a behemoth, like a cow or a sheep, they eat grass. They don't eat flesh. So David already says in his mind, Kvar nitrafa daita sholzeh. Shaliu, I got him. He's already panicked. He's talking out of his mind. Because it's not correct to say that animals of the field are going to eat human flesh. In fact, the Ramban on the Torah in Bereshis says, what's a chaya? Oichle abosar. They sort of attack other animals and they eat meat. Now the Emek Dover, the Netziv, Rav Berlin, says that we see a deer is a chaya that doesn't eat human flesh. So he has to kash on the Ramban. Okay. Memhei. Vayomer David ala Plishti. Ataba elai becherev uv'chanit uv'chidon. You come to me with a sword, with a spear, and a stick that you throw. I come with the name of Hashem. Elohei Marchot Yisrael Shecharafta, the God that you have been cursing these last 40 days. By the way, Rashi brings this, that David already recognized that he was panicked and that he was going to defeat him. Mem Vav, Hayom Hazeh, Yizgarcha Hashem biadi. Hashem is going to give you to my hand. Vikiticha. I'm going to kill you. Vasirotir Rosh Chamel. I'm going to take your head off. V'natati peger machane plishtim hayom hazeh. The whole machane plishtim will be made like a corpse. La'ofa shamayim l'chayas haaretz. He throw back the same statement that Goliath had made to him, that they're going to become for the birds of the heavens. V'yedu, and here he says chaya. That's better than a behemoth, because a chaya will eat human flesh. V'yedu kol haaretz ki yesh Elohim Yisrael. The whole world will know that there's a God in Israel. But it's not David's next pasuk. But it's not through natural means, through a sword and through a javelin. You are going to be given into our hands through Hashem. And the Malbim points out, you're not supposed to soymech completely on a nest. You're supposed to come prepared as much as you can. But David recognized that in Klal Yisrael now there was a lack of bitochen in Hashem. Remember, they wanted a king. They told Shmuel to get him a king. They wanted things to be done naturally, derech hateva, like all the other goyim around them. So now David has to put into them, in the destruction of Goliath, this concept that it's going to be done derech Hashem and not derech natural means. Pasuk Memches. Vayaki kama plishti vayelech vayikrav likrat David. So the plishti attacks David. Vayimaher David vayarat samarcha likrat plishti. He runs to the plishti as well. Vayishlach David et yado ala keli. He puts his hand into the knapsack. Vayikach misham eved vayikala. And he takes a stone, puts it in the sling. Vayachat plishti al mitzcho, and the stone hits him right on the forehead. Vatidbaha even b'mitzcho, and it sort of buries itself into its forehead. Vayipol panav arza. He falls forward. Rashi, loyally Paul el achrav. He's supposed to fall back, not forward. Hashem didn't want him to walk an extra 5 feet towards his head. He wanted the head to be closer to David, so when he cuts off his head, the tzaddik shouldn't have to walk too much. The 12 feet that the Goliath is tall, he doesn't have to walk that far. That's the benefit he gets. I just wanted to point out, all of us grew up November 22nd, 1963, the Kennedy assassination and the Zapruder film everyone saw, and there was a guy, Abraham Zapruder, that filmed the assassination, and you see his President heads going back. So the theory of the grassy knoll, the fact that he was shot from the front, how could he be, if he was shot by Oswald from behind in the book depository, Kennedy's head should have gone forward, not backwards. Anyways, I had a professor in urology. His name was Professor Benji. He came from Columbia as a visiting professor to UCLA. And this guy had written books on the similarity between Lincoln's assassination and President Kennedy. They were both the youngest president at the time. They were both, one was 1860, one was 1960, and many other things. He gave a whole lecture. He explained that Kennedy had a very bad back. And wherever he went, he was always put in a brace, which held him upright. And when the bullet, his brain got like ejected, and it's like a jet. He demonstrated how his head could go back even if it was shot from the back. So anyways, this came into my head when you could see, even in the time of Chazal, in the time of the Tanakh, they understood that from physics, if you got hit in the head, you should fall backwards instead of forwards. Anyways, that's my mishigas, and I was thinking about that.
Lincoln got shot from the back.
And Lincoln got shot from the back too. Pasuk nun, vaychazak David ben aplishti bakela uva even. So it's a summary pasuk that David conquered this mighty giant with a slingshot and a stone. Vayachet aplishti vaymiteu, and it sounds like he had to come and strike him again to kill him. The gomer misaso adainai, but he was still alive, and he had to kill him completely. That the first stone hadn't killed him. That's why this pasuk says you killed him. However, cherev ein biyad David. Meanwhile, David, remember, had taken off his sword because it was too heavy. Vayaretz David vayamod ala plishti. So David ran to Goliath. Vayikach et charbo, took Goliath's sword. Vayishlafami tara, and he took it out of its scabbard. Vayimititeyu, I guess killed him with the sword. And then vayichrat bat rosho, then cut his head off. Vayiru Plishtim kimet giboram vayanusu. The Plishtim saw that their champion had been killed and they ran away. Vayakumu anshe Yisrael v'Yehuda vayariu. They blew shofar vayifuta Plishtim. They ran after the Plishtim ad boacha gai v'charik until they the valley until Ekron. Ekron is a city in the Plishtim. Vayiplu chale Plishtim b'derech Sharayim ve'ad Gad v'ad Ekron. Now this derech Sharayim, the two gates, they've uncovered in Tel Azeka. I was there on the Mizrahi tour. You can see this battlefield between Plishtim and David, because this Sharei Ekron, Sharayim, it's a double gate. They've discovered the double gate. So they know exactly where this battlefield is. Vayashu b'nei Yisrael midlok achrei Plishtim. The b'nei Yisrael came back after chasing after the Plishtim. Vayashosu es machanehem. And they plundered their camp. Vayikach David et Rosh HaPlishti vayvieu Yerushalayim. They brought Goliath's head to Yerushalayim. What's Pshat Yerushalayim? Vet Kelev Sham Ba'olo, in the tent. What is Yerushalayim doing here? Yerushalayim was still in control of the Yevusi. It's only when David becomes king that they fight against the Yevusi. So some say that he brought it to Nov, where the Almoid was. Others say that only the sword was brought to Oil Moed in Nov. That's what it means by the oil. And others say the Cherev was also brought to Yerushalayim. The Radak says that Nov, Irakoanim, was at that time called Yerushalayim. The Malbim says that the Yevusi only had a fortress in Yerushalayim, but the rest of the city was already occupied by Jews. Okay. Nun hey. V'chirot Shaul et David yotzei likrat Plishti. So now we go backwards a little bit. When Shaul sees David HaMelech going towards Goliath, Omar el Avner Sarat Tzava. Avner was the general of Shaul's army. Ben Mizeh Hanar Avner. Who is this? Or whose son is this? Vayomer Avner Chei Nafshcha Melech Im Yodati. Avner says, I have no idea. Vayomer Amelech Sha'alata, you ask, Ben Mizeh Ha'elem. Who is this? Who is this? Look at Rashi. Omer Rabbeinu. What do you mean? V'chilaya Makira? What? Shaul didn't know who this is? We had in last perek that they brought David to Shaul to play the harp. Haloksi, Vayaveu Ma'or, he loved him. Vahilo Nosa Kelim, he was his armor bearer. Elara'o Misnaheg B'tachsisas Malchus. He now saw that David is acting like a king. Omar Shaul in Bom Mishpachas Peretz. Remember, Yehuda and Tamar had two children, Peretz and Zorach. So he wanted to know, whose son is this? Is he a son of Peretz? Because that's a siman shamelach poretz geder. The king has the right of eminent domain. He can knock down anybody's fence for a road. Ve'ein mamachim yad, you can't protest. If he came from the family of Zerach, he'll be an important person, but he won't be king. Omer lo Doeg. Again, our old friend Doeg. Acha ata shoel im bom mishpacha sheyehu oged lamalchus imlav. Before you ask whether he comes from a family that could be a melech, she'al im roy lova bakalim lav. Can he even marry in Klal Yisrael? Says Doeg. Sharei merus hamoavi abba. He's from Rus. So, Omer lo Avner, Shaninu, Amoni v'lo Amonis, Moavi v'lo Moavis. By the way, this whole dialogue is a Gemara in Yevamis Ayin Vav. Those of us who learn the Daf Yomi have learned this a number of times. So when it says, Lo yavo Amoni umoavi bikal Hashem, an Ammonite and a Moabite cannot get married to a Jewish woman. So Chazal Darshan, Amoni velo Ammonit. It's a male Ammonite that cannot marry, but an Ammonit, a female like Rus, who was a Moabite, could get married. Omer lo doeg, im kein mamzer velo mamzeres. It says lo yavo mamzer bikal Hashem. A mamzer, a child born through an erva relationship. For example, someone has relations with an Eshes Ish, and the child is born. The child is a mamzer and cannot marry. You can't give chuppah kiddushin to a mamzer. Now, there also the word mamzer is masculine. So just like we say amoni velo amonit, maybe we says doeg, then you could say mamzer velo mamzeret. But we know makes no difference whether it's a male mamzer or a female mamzeres. Neither one can get married. So Omar Lo, so Avner was a big Talmud Chacham, responds to Doeg. Kan nemar al dvar asher lo kidmu eschem belechem uvamayim. In the parsha of Amoni uMoavi, when Klal Yisrael was coming to the Eretz Canaan, they tried to cross through the lands of the Ammoni and the Moavi, and they didn't let them. And the Torah chastises them because they didn't lo kidmu etchem, they didn't come out and bring you food and drink. Now, why should they have brought us food and drink? Well, it's basic hakaras hatov. Who was the grandfather of Ammon and Moab? It's Lot.
Right.
In this week's Parshas HaShavua, Avram goes and takes Lot out of captivity. So they didn't have a hakaras hatov. That's why they can't marry into Klal Yisrael. There's a problem with their midos. However, who goes out to people to give them? Women are tzniah, are tznuah. They're in their tent. Ein derech isha bekach to go out to men. So Doeg had a good response. Omer layam lekadem anoshim likras anoshim v'nosim likras noshim. What do you mean? The Ammonite men could have gone out to the men, and the Ammonite women could have gone out to the women. Nishtatek Avner. So Avner was silent. So continue. Sha'alata. So Amar lo Shaul. Sha'alata ben mizeh ha'elim. So go ask whose yichus is this? Lemalek siva nar. Nar is a word for a youth, and elam is also a word for a youth. Why did they switch? Why didn't they call him here a nar? Because Chazal see a drasha here. Amar lo halacha nisalmi mimcha. Say usha'al b'beis hamedrash. He told Avner, obviously you don't know the answer. Go to the yeshiva and find. I'm going to read the remaining of the Gemara. So the play on words is elam from the word it's missing from you. It's the word olam. It's hidden. And you're forgetting the halacha. Go to the Beis Medrash. So they went to the Beis Medrash. Avner went. Amar le'amoni v'lo amonit moavi v'lo avid. Actually, Doeg kolani kushyosa. Well, Doeg asked all the same questions. Ishtika, they also couldn't answer him. Boi lachriz, they were going to announce on David that he's a mamzer, he's a Moavi, you can't marry him. Miyad, v'amsha ben ish, ushmo Yisra Yisraeli. There was an Amsha and Yisra there, asher bo alavigayel bas nachash, uksiv Yisra Yishmoeli, Amar Rav Melamed, shechagar charbo kishmoel, that Amsha put on a sword like an Arab, for Omar. Whoever doesn't listen to this halacha should be run through with the sword. This is what we've received from the Beis Din of Shmuel. Amoni v'lo amonit, moavi v'lo avid. It's all brought in Rus Rabbah. So that's what was going on here. Shaul was asking Avner, where is David from Peretz or Zarach? So the Griz Soloveitchik asks, what was the big answer here again? Doi could have answered the same kashas. Because once they said it's Aloch L'Moshe Misina directly to Shmuel Aramosi, there's no more kashas. Pasuk Nun Zayin, Ukeshuv David Ma'akoisas Aplishti. When David came back, Vayikach to Avner, so Avner takes him, Vayveluf Neishol V'Rosh Aplishti Biyodo. David is still holding on to the head, the severed head of Goliath. Vayomer Lav Shaul ben Miato Anar. Whose son are you? Vayomer David ben Avdecha Yishai Beis Alachmi. I'm the son of Yishai. And that's the last pasuk. So very dramatic perek. A lot of nice midrashim. And now we will get very deep into the ascension of David HaMelech and sort of the end game for Shaul as his kingdom comes to an end. Any comments, questions, or arrows, or any other?
Didn't they mention at the beginning, when he came to be to play the harp for Shaul, didn't they mention then that he's from Yishai?
Yes, and in fact, we said that Yishai sent gifts to Shaul HaMelech. So that's why we asked the question that this was all rhetorical, that the questioning of Shaul of Avner as to what was the yichus of David didn't relate to Yishai. They knew Yishai was the son of Rus. The question is, are you allowed to? So Doeg says, before you say whether he could be the Melech or not, who cares about whether he's Perach or Zerach? Are we allowed to marry him? Can you give chuppah kiddushin to someone who's a product of a Moavit? So it's not. He really didn't ask him about Yishai. He asked him about all these other halachic issues that we just went through.